So we need a different metric really to measure the success of these projects. So there isn't enough, but there is a bit being done. We need to do more. We need to have that long-term vision to say we want to really change the landscape of our deep rural areas in terms of the supply of ICT skills. And we've seen projects that we've done there showing a whole lot of potential in the minds, the fertile minds of the learners that are found in all these areas.
What have been the changes that you've witnessed over the years? What would you say those are?
So IITPSA also does critical skills assessments for professionals in IT that would like to come and work in the country.
Hello, welcome to ITWeb TV. Today in studio, we're joined by Senele Goba. She is the president and board chairperson of the Institute of IT Professionals South Africa, also known as the IITPSA. Senele, welcome.
Thank you, Sumnikiwe.
How are you doing?
Oh, I'm good. I'm wonderful. It's lovely weather outside. And how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Yeah.
You're here to chat to us about, the ICT, local ICT landscape and some of the skills development that we're seeing or the lack thereof, and a range of, topics that we're going to discuss during this conversation around the ICT space or ICT market in South Africa. So just to get a sense for our viewers, can you just tell us more about yourself? And I know I mentioned that you're the president of the IITPSA, but can you just tell me more about your background and all of that stuff?
Okay. So being the president and the board chairperson of the IITPSA is one of my hats. I wear a few other hats. So I run my own business, which focuses on industrial automation and STEM education innovation. And I also do a few passion projects that look at STEM education with a specific focus on technology. Of course, STEM being science, technology, engineering, and maths. So with the aim to increase the amount of STEM professionals that we have in our country and globally in order to address the need that our world has of STEM professionals. But we want to make sure that they're also smart. That's why we use technology.
And how is that going in terms of, we know that there's big gap in terms of young women or women overall in STEM.
Yeah.
How are you, what would you say in terms of addressing that challenge? What is some of the work that you guys are doing?
So there's a lot that needs to be done. There's a lot that is being done. And it's a long road. A STEM skills gap or the ICT skills gap is huge. It's been indicated in many different research activities that we've got a skill shortage for perhaps cybersecurity. We've got skill shortage on AI. We've got skill shortage on a whole lot of different fields within the IT stream. But that skills shortage gap keeps changing with the years because things are moving very quickly. And with the introduction of AI, things move at a much faster pace. So we have to keep checking on what the skills gap is at every point in time and more regularly. So the work we do as the Institute of IT Professionals is really we want to encourage and sustain the ICT professionalism within all the IT professionals. And we want to ensure also that through our journey of digital transformation, we highlight the ethics, because it's important that all the technology that we implement, all the solutions that we deliver in our space, it does not do any harm to anyone. And I think that's the base of all the work that has to be done.
And given your experience or your time in the IT land space, what have been the changes that you've witnessed over the years? What would you say those are?
Okay, so I've been working for the past 19 years since I finished university. I studied at the University of Cape Town and did my Bachelor of Science honors in computer science. when I started working, I worked in industrial automation because I specialized in computer engineering, and I was a trainee there. During that time, I was the only woman in my team, the youngest in the team. And my team was not even diverse in terms of demographics, racial diversity. It really wasn't. I was one of the few African people in the team and the only woman. So it continued over the years. I grew in the team. I graduated and moved into my engineer position. And even in that position, it was still the same. Nothing changed. I moved into the leadership role in the team and led my team. There was really no change. And it became a challenge for me because it said, now you are in charge of recruiting talent. Find the women that are that are suitable for this role. Find the young Black people that are suitable for this role. It was tough. So I did realize that with as much as we gave bursaries to students to attract them into the field, we are losing them much earlier than matric. We are losing them in the younger stages. We lose them at the age of 10 because for many of our children, topics that are related to STEM are very much far-fetched. When a teacher relates a topic to you that you have never seen in your life, it really all leaves it to your imagination to understand what it means. Now, if the child moves on in school to grade 9 and they have to now choose a subject that they will take in grade 10, they will choose the subjects that they can relate to a little bit better. And STEM does fall short in that aspect. So you find that less and less learners select STEM subjects. And when that happens, and usually the criteria is you must be doing well in the subject. And if you don't understand that subject, the chances of doing well in it are very slim. So we get less and less learners choosing STEM subjects in grade 9 and grade 10. And that means they will struggle through the years because they're, again, imagining they don't have resources to help them understand these concepts that are being taught. And also maybe some of the teachers that are teaching them don't understand these concepts that they are teaching. They've never really experimented with them and seen them. So over that time, you lose more of these learners. I've read some stats recently that show that of the learners that entered school and that entered high school in 2017, only 3.5% of them qualified to study a STEM subject. That means they got enough marks to be able to apply to university for a STEM subject. That's 3.5% of the learners. It's a very, very, very dismal number, and it needs to be corrected. And it can only be corrected if we understand where we are losing them. And my view is that we lose them very early when they're still fertile and sponges that we can make excited about the topics. And that's what led to projects that I do with younger learners in the age of 10, get them to be excited about STEM topics outside of the classroom. Because sometimes when you talk about the classroom, it becomes formal and it becomes a bit of a scary activity. So you introduce them in a fun way. They do activities, they do experiments, and they get to understand what the topics that are taught really mean. And with that hope, with that activity, you hope that they will grow and start to naturally like the subject. And when they choose the STEM subjects, they are not just choosing them because they are good at the subject, but they understand and they've got a genuine interest in them. It's not a 2-year project. It's not a 10-year project. It's a long-term project. So we have to just keep putting our effort into it. Yeah.
That sounds, it's like, I didn't think of it that way, that, I like the analogy of when they're still sponges, then they can absorb a lot.
Yeah.
So do you find that you have the necessary support, support structures to be able to, first of all, let me actually ask this way. The project that you're running is in KZN, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Project in KZN. Yes.
So in terms of expansion and getting it to other parts of the country, are you getting the necessary support? What would make it, expansion, that is.
Expansion. Yeah. It's not easy. We do projects in I would say in phases, because funding and sponsorships are not easy. So the funders will look for a specific I would say a specific target that they say the project must achieve this target by this time, which is fair. But because you are dealing with grassroots kind of work, it will take a while for that seed to germinate. So you do a project, you can see the prospects of success, and there's a lot of excitement, but we need continuous support in terms of funding to get these off the ground. But I do usually fund my projects myself, because I work with learners in deep rural areas where you have to travel sometimes. But I have worked with a few institutions that have supported these initiatives of I call them STEM empowerment programs, and they've had good results. It's important for us to sustain them, to be able to get young people that studied STEM subjects that are perhaps not even employed to go back and become mentors or champions to help with the teaching and the tutoring where the opportunities are. So because the need is in the remote areas, I understand the need in our urban and suburban areas. We can easily address those because there's a lot of resources around them. But if you really want to address our deep rural areas, we need to spend money to get there. We need to continuously put in investment, which will only really see results in many, many years. So we need a different metric really to measure the success of these projects. So there isn't enough, but there is a bit being done. We need to do more. We need to have that long-term vision to say we want to really change the landscape of our deep rural areas in terms of the supply of ICT skills. And we've seen projects that we've done there showing a whole lot of potential in the minds, the fertile minds of the learners that are found in all these areas. But if we don't follow it up, that mind really becomes a bit dormant in a way. So we do need to grow this and support it further. It's not enough.
Yeah. Are you encouraged, though, in any way in terms of where we're going in a STEM development that is?
I'm definitely encouraged. I'm encouraged because I meet a lot of people who have similar interests and similar passion, and they're doing also their bits in their circles. And I think the more of those people we meet, and the more of those people we see around the country, the bigger the impact is going to be. So it might not necessarily be about my initiatives having a greater impact, which it should be. It's great, but it's also good to have all these small circles that are happening everywhere, making impact where they are, because then it becomes accumulative. And as a collective, we make impact. So we avoid competition. We make sure that we collaborate. If we find people with similar interests, let's work together and let's congratulate and encourage each other to make sure that our initiatives grow, because we've got a common interest. We want to solve that. Ultimately, we want to solve the problem of the poor education. We want to solve the problem of unemployment. We want our young people to add and contribute to the economy in our country, and that is aligned to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals.
Yeah. And we've spoken about STEM and skills development. What I want to hear from you is, when we look overall, you mentioned about how you started where you started straight out of varsity, and being the only female, being the only African female within that working environment. But just to hear from you, what are your thoughts around the local ICT landscape? What does it look like for you, or where do you envision it to go? Yeah.
I'm actually quite encouraged by what I see. We, as IITPSA, we do hold different webinars that focus on topics that are of interest, and topics that are perhaps important during that time. We've done webinars on generative AI, webinars on cybersecurity, webinars on education, coding and robotics integration into education, and those have sparked a lot of excitement and involvement of young and old people in and outside of the IT profession because they find the interest. So when we do those initiatives, we get to see that there's a lot of passion that is there, and that is encouraging. And also you find that a lot of young people in university they aspire to become excellent professionals. And our role as women in IT and as IT professionals is to make sure that we don't lose those people. We help them to grow through the ranks. We help them to find their passion. The IT field is really wide. So each person can find their passion and make sure that they contribute in a meaningful way through the passion that they have for IT.
Yeah. And in addressing some of those challenges, what would you say needs to, or particularly around skills development, which is what we've been discussing, what would you say needs to happen?
Sure. We need to have a more focused approach. When we aim to instill a skill or to impart a skill, we have to look at the global demand. Okay. We have to, because we are no longer just South Africans who serve South Africa. The world has become one big connected body. So if I say I'm going to just develop people for South Africa, especially in IT, I'm limiting us. There's a huge potential in IT in South Africa. So we need to develop our talent according to the global trends. What is the demand in the global trends? There's been a number of reports from the World Economic Forum and from different other bodies that indicate the skills that are needed or the skills that will be required in the next few years. And skills that will no longer be, that will sort of be, phase out in the next few years. Now, we don't need to take offense or be threatened by those kinds of reports. We have to critically view them and internalize them and ask ourselves, how are we doing in alignment to that kind of vision? So let's then, we don't need everybody to study IT because we don't have the same passions, and the world doesn't only need IT. We understand that IT is integrated in almost all aspects of our lives. So I usually use the term, we need to have smart professionals that know how to take advantage of technology and use it to make their jobs easier. So you need to be a smart journalist that uses technology to make your job easier. Yes, not to replace you. I think that's still quite far. And for you to keep yourself relevant, it's important for you to understand how can you take charge, how can you be in charge of the technology to make it work for you, and so that you are in charge of it rather than the technology directing your way. Mm-hmm. So we need to develop that kind of mentality of we want to have smart professionals that understand how technology can support them to make their jobs easier. But we also need to make aware our younger generations of these demands in skills so that they can also, and then expose them to all these different fields that are related to the demands that are coming for the future. When we expose them, then they will start to find interest and they will move into those fields. We can start to solve our own problems as the society rather than waiting for somebody to bring a solution to us to implement. We need to develop more IT solutions in South Africa. There's a lot of work being done there, but there's a lot more that can still be done. South Africans are really smart people.
I have to agree with you on that one. I've heard a lot about, particularly when you attend conferences, that South Africans need to develop their own IT solutions. We can't be looking to other nations for when there is the mind and when resources and the knowledge is there, why not develop our own within locally to be used locally, and then obviously, hopefully, go outside the country and be used outside of the country? Why do you think that we're not seeing a lot of local development?
It's a tough one, hey? I think it speaks to the long-term vision and us owning the need, owning the solutions. It starts there. So it speaks to overall leadership, and the overall leadership of our profession, the overall leadership of our country needs to understand this need and work together in addressing it, and then start the initiatives that are aimed at really making the difference. Initiatives that will not only give a child employment, but will give the child value. Maybe not say a child, a human, a person. So we mustn't just give them time at work. We must give them value to them. So when they have spent a year, maybe doing a learnership or a graduate program, when they come out of that, they must say, I'm ready to deliver value to my country, rather than I'm ready to be employed and, earn a salary. That's our viewpoint needs to be read about the value that each human brings into our country, into our economy. When we impart that value, then we will start to address these needs, because people will no longer just feel entitled to a salary. They will no longer feel that I just want to work, but they will feel that I want to add value to our country. I want to add value to my life as well. I don't think it's things that can be, separated from each other, being the professional and being a person who wants to live a meaningful life. And if we give people a meaningful life, they thrive.
Mm-hmm. We've spoken about skills shortages, Senele, just to hear from you. Overall, what do you think South Africa, what are the skills that you think South Africa lacks?
Yeah. I'll speak about, firstly, industrial automation. I work in the industrial automation field. We lack skills in that sector. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. Automation of processes and monitoring of those processes, designing and development of those processes. It seems like an unknown field.
I'm going to interrupt you because I was going to say, can you please tell us what exactly it is?
So industrial automation, I'll make an analogy of the water that we're drinking. It's made in a factory, and that factory has machines that do the filling, the moving of the bottle to the right place, then the filling of the water into the bottle to ensure that it doesn't get crushed, and then the fitting of the lid. That's not done by a human. It's done by robotic machines. Now, that machine, in order to do it, it needs to be programmed. So industrial automation engineers do that kind of programming. You design the process, you then program it to say this is how the process needs to go, based on the specific requirements that have been designed, perhaps by a process engineer or by another person that is a specialist in that process. Now, automation engineers can be people with a background in electrical engineering, computer science, computer engineering, and other engineering fields, but it has to do with programming. So you have to understand programming and be able to apply it to these. So these machines get controlled by computers that are called programmable logic controllers, and these are industrial computers in a way that receive the program and do as you have instructed them. Now we need people to design those programs, ensure that those programs don't misfire or they don't misbehave in a way. They'll only behave as you have instructed them. We don't have enough people in that field. And for me, when I went to university to study, I went to study computer science. And when I got to university, then I got to see that you can select a different specialization field and you can go into mathematical computing, scientific computing, business computing, or computer engineering, and many others. I chose computer engineering because I also had an interest in electrical engineering. So when I chose computer engineering, my major was computer science, and then you have another specialty in electronics. Through that, I got exposed to industrial automation. So when I went to start work, I also didn't know that I was going to work in industrial automation. I was going to be a general graduate trainee, exposed to all the different fields within the manufacturing systems. And I found interest in industrial automation, and I've moved. I've loved it since then. Even in that field, there are still no women. Very few women. We need to get them in there. Yes, it's not a sexy job. You don't dress up in nice heels and bow ties. You wear your safety boots. You go on into the field, and you work with the machines. But it's fun. I love it. You just have to be a person that is very patient and able to decipher problems and find a sort of a foolproof solution, because your solution mustn't just be one direction or one I'll say single phased in a way. It needs to look at all possible problems that can happen and solve them before they happen. Those are called interlocks. So if a certain misnomer happens in the process, maybe there's a bottle that's sitting in the way of the robot. The robot must not just hit the bottle and then crush everything that's in the way. You must have sensors that will ensure that the robot cannot hit the bottle. If it comes close to it, then it must do something. It must stop, or it must reverse, or whatever, depending on the situation. So you have to be a really deep problem solver, somebody who is very patient, because to solve those problems, you have to really pay attention to the detail. And when you've paid that attention to the detail, find the problem and ensure that you've covered all the corners of the problem. It's a fun field. It really is.
Sounds like fun. What it was robots. And what wouldn't make what would why wouldn't it be fun? No, I didn't know. So it's quite
and it's more and more prevalent. We just don't see it because we see big buildings, warehouses, and you don't see what's happening inside. There's a lot of fascinating things that happen in there. Yeah.
No, it sounds very interesting.
Yeah.
And Senele, I'm just going to go back to you touched on earlier. You touched on generative AI, and we've seen a lot of buzz and developments within that space over the last year. What is your take on that? And and from a South African point of view, I want to hear from you if you think South Africa needs to there's some form of regulation that needs to come with it.
Yeah. So generative AI has really challenged our view on technology and how long it takes to deploy a technology solution. I mean, ChatGPT or generative AI was a science fiction in a few years ago, but ChatGPT today it's a year old. Yes,
it is.
So and a lot has happened in its development over these years. A lot of people have started using them. Millions of people use them. It in some of the cases, a skill and ability to use ChatGPT is now a prerequisite in some of the jobs that people apply for. So it shows how quickly generative AI is changing our world. Now, we've seen also some AI-generated videos that seem like it's the person that's talking, and that may if we are not empowered to understand the impact and the implications of AI, we will be left behind, and we'll fall into a lot of potholes that are created by the lack of our information or the lack of our knowledge. Now, as a country, we need to understand where this thing may be going. We need to ensure that there's no bias in the way generative AI works, not only as a country, as the world as well. We've seen some bias aspects of it. We need to ensure that it's secure, because a lot of information and data is fed into the systems, and it's personal data also that goes in there. So that there needs to be an utmost level of security. But above all, we need to ensure that it does no harm. Ethics need to be a critical aspect of the ICT and specifically of AI. That would need to be regulated at some stage. How that's going to happen is a whole different question. But I know that there are studies that are happening. People are exploring how all this can happen. And I look forward to seeing all these different solutions. But in terms of regulating, it needs to happen. But in order for us to be able to regulate, we need to educate ourselves about it. So we need to get the right skills on board to address this issue. It's not a problem in my view, but nothing is all good. If it lands in the hands of someone who has sinister intentions, it can be very destructive. So we need to manage that appropriately.
Mm-hmm. We often criticized about how slow we move. So I don't know with how tech is advancing and the likes of AI are. I don't know how we'll get to addressing some of the issues like you mentioned, like ethics and no bias in so.
The speed at which we are moving has to pick up very, very quickly. The train is just, I usually hear people complaining about the fact that we still have some basic service delivery problems in our country, or basic needs and lack thereof in our country, which need to be addressed with speed. But we cannot focus only on that. If we stay focused only on that, we will miss the train big time, and we'll always just keep following everybody else. So we really need to have strong focus and strategy to say we are addressing all the basic needs that need to happen, but we also are making sure that we are advancing in our understanding of technology, in our management of technology. We advance the technology. There are a number of activities and programs that exist around that. I think those programs need to just keep moving and becoming sustainable and staying abreast also with the world developments. And as a country, we need not be shy to be trailblazers in some of the fields and some of the topics that may come up. AI still needs a whole lot of development in terms of cultural, I would say cultural aspects, specifically African culture. So that bias is still quite strong. So we have a great opportunity as South Africa to integrate the aspect of the nature, the I would say the African indigenous aspects of our languages and our cultural values and all that, in a way that does not exclude people, and in a way that does not in a way that does not jeopardize other people as well. Yeah. So yeah, there's definitely we need to keep going.
Yeah. I like what you said about that. Obviously, we have so many challenges, like your service delivery challenges, but we also need to look at, we can't just ignore
Yes,
the tech side of things or the advancements and say, no, we'll deal with that at a later stage, given how fast things are moving.
Indeed. We cannot stop. Are you nervous about it?
I'm a bit.
Yeah.
I don't know if, no, we'll leave. I am a bit, but we'll leave it at that. Senele, just to, we know, earlier I mentioned that one of your many hats, your recent hat is the fact that now you are the president and chairperson of the board chairperson of the IITPSA.
Yeah.
So if you can just tell us more in terms of, I think you might have touched on it, but some of the work that the IITPSA is up to at the moment.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. So the IITPSA, as the professional body that is SAQA accredited, it aims to really uphold the ethical values of the ICT profession. We aim to ensure that we engage our stakeholders, which is our members, as well as other parties that have an interest in the ICT field. We aim to also provide thought leadership on topical issues relating to IT, relating to the IT profession, to ensure that we stay abreast, and there's also continuous development within the IT professionals. An IT professional must be continuously developing to keep abreast. So we also focus on career development aspect, where we offer we partner with accredited organizations or institutes that will offer training or courses that will give CPD points to our members. And also we offer webinars. So we get experts in different topics, and they will hold webinars on those topics, and they will share those with the members and non-members in order to educate them and give them some insight. There's a lot of other projects that we do. One of the important ones that we do is to improve the ICT pipeline and career development. We run the Computer Olympiad, and it's in 3 parts. There's a talent search, which exposes thousands of young learners in primary school to high school to the concepts of problem solving, logical thinking, computational thinking, and that's done through fun quizzes and questions. And from there, we follow on with 2 Olympiads, which is the Programming Olympiad and the Applications Olympiad. So with the Applications Olympiad, learners in high school use packages like office packages to solve certain problems that are presented to them. And with the Applications Olympiad, then the learners implement their programming skills using a certain programming language to solve a problem that is placed with them. So there we try and find the talent that exists within our young people and inspire them to grow that talent, and then also compete in the international stages. Our Programming Olympiad winners go and compete in the international Olympiads in informatics, and that's held in different countries across the world. So they participate there, and recently our medal winners actually won some medals at the IOI that recently happened, and we'll send some of them this year.
And I don't know if it's come to my understanding as well that you guys are also working with the critical skills visas. What's happening around that? What is the IITPSA's involvement?
Yeah. So IITPSA also does critical skills assessments for professionals in IT that would like to come and work in the country. So they need to be assessed to see that they are aligned with the need, with the profession that they want to work in, and that assessment gets done and it's then submitted for approval or disapproval thereof. But IITPSA does that assessment for any professionals that want to come into the country and work here.
Yeah. And just to hear from you around, what are some of your hopes? What do you hope to achieve by the end of your tenure as the president of the institute?
I want our institute to continue to make a meaningful difference in the IT profession, but also in the ICT skills pipeline. I want more women that exist already in our realm to continue to contribute to the development of other women into the field of IT. I want IT to be a natural path that a woman can take without feeling that she doesn't belong there. And I want our young professionals to advance as much as they can in their professionalism and uphold the professionalism. So, and I want the Institute to actually really be the voice of the IT profession in our country, to be the bouncing board and the thought leadership leader within the country. I want us to be the consulting body to really offer directives or direction and strategic direction to the advancement of our country in as far as the ICT profession is concerned. And I want us to be the compass, the ethical compass of the ICT profession.
And I honestly hope that you guys will be able to do that, because I think, given the history of the Institute and with you as leading it right now, I hope you'll have those conversations with the necessary departments or entities to be able to do that. I think we all need to work together to advance.
Absolutely.
Yes. So I think if that is a possibility, then I wish you all the best with that.
No, thank you so much. Our team, our operational team, does a lot of work already, engaging all the different stakeholders and organizing a whole lot of interactions between the members. And they're doing a great job. We still need to grow it. We still need to keep growing. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Senele.
Yeah.
That was Senele Goba. She is the chairperson and the president of the IITPSA. Thank you for joining us, Senele. It was lovely to have this chat with you. For more on ITWeb TV, please subscribe